All right, let's just start the interview. Oh, damn. All right, let's just start the interview. Like Kevin in the room.
Kevin's in
Hi,
the
Kevin.
room. How are
Yeah,
you?
there was no audio.
Well, I know. So you can hear me now?
I could hear you. Yeah.
So, yeah, I can remember that vividly. And I stay friends with Ramsey. I speak to Ramsey. And
I was going to ask you that.
oh, of course. I talk to the only ones that I don't talk to for my show are the ones who I reached out to and didn't respond back. What do you want me to do? You know what I mean? Am I supposed to keep saying, hey, what's going on? It was a TV show. So there's only like 3 of them total. And I'm not going to bring them up. But I speak to Paul, Josh, Ramsey, Christmas, Elena, Raven, Matt, Mark, everybody, mostly everybody. I have no, I don't understand why anyone would take it personal. It was a TV show, and you have to understand, production runs the real thing. I mean, what you see, even the live feeds, a lot of it is dictated by the production. So, as you know, with any type of TV show, you just can't go in there and do what the hell you want. It's done. I mean, to have Paul come in at the first night and give out friendship bracelets so he can pick 8 people he gives bracelets to, so those people are safe for a week. Of course they're going to align with him. What are you going to do? You're going to go against him? Because we're thinking, how did he get so much power on the first night? You know, so that's why everyone initially followed Paul. No one was against Cody, except Paul didn't give Cody a friendship bracelet. Cody took it personal, and they started to beef with each other. And you had no choice. You had to like take sides, and I think production has more of a hand in it than anyone else, because I never watched the show, never seen the show. When Paul come in, I thought he was bringing food in. I didn't even know he was on the show from the year before. And if you watch it, I'm standing next to Cody, and I put my hand over my mouth, and I said, "Who's he?" And he was like, "That's some kid from he didn't like him." And he was like, "He was on the show last year. I can't stand him." And that's how I knew who Paul was. I never knew who Paul was. I never seen him before.
Funny.
Yeah.
So, I remember a lot of people being mad about that, like that he was back on the show.
Yeah. And then he did the candy cane thing we did, where they dropped the candy down, and you got Paul was on a TV show about that before. So a lot of what everyone is being, I don't think they're being fooled. I think a majority of the people who watch it are intelligent people. They just dig the old Big Brother vibe and the way it goes. But production runs most of the stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Production picks certain people that they think are going to. The whole thing is about ratings. In any TV show of any type of, if anyone's ever been involved in modeling or TV shows or anything, it's about ratings. So you're going to put people up there that you think are going to give you the ratings. So, I mean, I won the first night the money. After that, I didn't do good in the comps. But at the end of the show, I find out that that Dr. Will never won a comp ever, and he won the show.
Yeah,
he won the show. I was so depressed. I was sitting in the hotel. I never went to jury. I went to a hotel, and I'm sitting in the hotel, and I'm like, man, did I screw up? I didn't win a comp. And I get into go have dinner. It's a jury roundtable before they actually make it go back, and then everyone makes a vote. And Dr. Will come over to me, and he was so cool. He said my height, so I was shocked. I didn't think he was that tall. He was well dressed. He complimented me on the dress, and he said, I won the show. I said, you won the show? And he said, yeah. And he said, I never won a comp during my season. And I was like, now I feel so much better, because I thought I was the only one who never won a comp, and I made it that far.
You were smart to take that $25,000 though, and you kept quiet. Nobody knew the whole time.
No, well, I try to be nice to Matt, and I blew up my whole thing. But the thing is, so I'm getting in there, and I'm understanding that the first person generally off for the past like 10 seasons ago is the oldest person. So I'm thinking, man, if you get a chance to win 25,000, plus they give you a stipend, which I'm not allowed to say how much they give you. So I'm talking about leaving there with almost the same amount of money as the second place winner for just the first night. So the rest is a breeze. You know what I mean? And I had kids. It was never hard hanging out with them. My social game was fine because I got along with everybody until you understand when you get down to the top 8, and now they start headhunting each other, and everyone wants the 500,000. That's when the problem started. Before that, I didn't go on the block for 73 days.
Well, you were not the top 4, so you were number 4. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I was under the impression that Paul and me were going to go, but apparently Paul and everyone were going to go to the end. So I was just baffled because I'm thinking, how does he have so much power in terms of running the house, and not like he's not like he wanted to put on certain outfits for certain house guests that were being evicted. And I was like, that's sort of bizarre. The production don't call him in the DR and say, listen, you can't do that. So he seemed to have a lot more power than the rest of us. So I was just thinking, if I could just stay behind him, I can make it further down. And then if I get a chance to win the comp, I would have definitely put him on the block. The only one thing I regret is that race. I know I could have won the race because literally I said to them, do we have to go to the end of the wall? And they were like, no, you only got to go. I said, that's only like 8 feet away. The race, it was only like 8. I could have fallen and hit the thing.
Yeah, but Paul planned it though. He planned it so well that
and you have to give him credit. So that's why at the end they speak.
He couldn't have won against you. He couldn't have won against you. He couldn't have won against you in the top 2.
No way.
That's why.
No, he also they set a criteria. So before you get your chance to vote on the live finale night, when you put the key in, they bring you into a room and they explain, almost give you like the rules before you take the SATs when you're in high school.
Yeah.
The criteria is, who do you think played the best game? Who do you think won the most comps? Who do you think did this and that? And I mean, I'm really good friends with Josh. I love Josh, but I thought Paul played the better game.
Yeah.
So I voted for Paul. And
I thought Paul should have won, to be honest with you. I love Josh, but I went
into Jerry Roundtable, and I haven't seen nobody for another week because I went to a hotel again. So I'm ready to get dinner. So they drive you up blindfolded in a golf cart. Yeah, you're blindfolded. I got a suit on. It's 120 degrees. They drive you up, and I go up the stairs, and I can hear when they're saying, I wonder who it is. Oh, it's Kevin. And I'm like, well, listen, guys, we got nothing to argue about. Paul's the winner. Let's go have dinner. And everyone went crazy. He did this. He did that. He screwed you over. And I was like, oh, my God, it got really ugly.
Yeah. They were so mad at him. He didn't do good jury management. And I think that was the problem.
But that's not what they said. When they explained to us that the complete criteria was to pick who you think played the best game. Not who you liked the best, not who screwed you over the worst, not who made a fool of you, not who isolated you, who you think played a better game. And in my opinion, I thought Paul played a better game. But I have no animosity I mean, it's so bizarre that you would think I had turned 56 on the show. You know what I mean? And
wow.
They were 23 years old. I mean,
who was?
Josh was only 23.
That's right. He was a baby. I think that was the first time he's ever been away from home. Didn't he say that?
He what?
Wasn't it the first time he's ever been away from home?
Correct. So the first couple of nights, I used to let Josh sleep with me. He would sleep in the bed right next to me. And I'd be like, relax, man. Everything's going to be fine. And then you have to give him credit. He made a good final speech. He knew that Paul, I don't understand how on the second season that the jury management is such a critical part of the game.
Yeah.
And Paul would go in there and have so many. I've never seen people so mad at Paul. Yeah. I mean, he got my vote, Christmas's vote, Raven, and Matt's vote. But the rest of them weren't just mad. They were off the chart, man. They were screaming. They were calling. They were like, Kevin, he made a fool of you. And I said, guys, he played a better game. He outsmarted me. Now, we're not in a bar in Boston.
It was Cody. Wasn't it Cody that was turning everyone to go against Paul in the end? Because he was so mad. Because those two were like button heads the whole time.
And now you got to remember, we're not in a bar in Boston where someone steals my drink or my money. Because then it would have been a different argument. We're in a game show on TV in front of millions of people, and you have to carry yourself with a little bit of dignity in class. And you have to realize that, the criteria, and you knew what you were signing up for. You have to understand that the game is a deceitful game. The game's is really a mind-blowing game because you go in there and like tonight, I love you. I love you. And they've only been together 7 days and everyone loves each other. But then you went into a room and voted them out.
Right. It's
So
a game.
love is
and you
there.
can't take it personal. You know, you can't take that shit personal.
And then when it gets, when they deprive you of when you eat slop, when you got to go in the have not room, you get deprived of hot water, you get deprived of food, and then everyone else is eating food around you, having beer, and you got to sleep in a dark room, freezing cold on spikes. And
like torture.
But I didn't mind going in there because it was quiet. They left me alone. I didn't mind going in there. But you got to understand, it starts to get down to where the person you liked at the beginning of the show, and now you're 6 weeks in, you start finding faults in them in any little thing, any little mannerism or any little thing, idiosyncrasy people have. You start to use it against them. And me, I just slayed in the. If you watch it, the last 30 days, I just sat in my corner and didn't talk to nobody. I mean, anyone could say what they did on the show and how good they were. All I know is for 30 days, I may have talked to Josh and Paul 3 times. Everyone else would walk by and not say a word to me. No one talked to me. So I guess I was pushed into the corner. So I said, I'm not going to win unless I win a comp. I'm not going to win favoritism because Paul's already got everyone encircled in that. So I just decided just to sit by myself. I didn't mind. I had ice cream. I would sit there and chill out, and I would talk. The people would call me in at 3 a.m. because I'd be the only one awake. So
that would have been me.
The production people who were awake, who were up at 3 a.m, Kevin, please come to the DR. And I'd be like, sure. So I'd go in the DR. This is my DR. I'm going to show you my DR. I'd be like this. They'd be like, what's going on? I said, what's happening back home? And they would say, no news is good news. Because I had 8 kids, no one on the show, and no one kid, Jason.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what's going on back home? When I left to go to the show, my son was a junior. When I come back, he was a senior. My daughter was a senior. When I come back, she was a freshman in college. I never got to graduate. I spent Father's Day alone. I spent everything alone. But I grew up with a big family. We had eight of us. We had 6 boys. Me and
You're
6
from Boston. That's what they do in Boston.
Triple deckers. So I lived in one back bedroom. Me and 5 brothers till I was 18 years old. So it did. I used to be dumbfounded why they would cry and why they were so upset about things. Because we're out in California. And also the yard. When you guys see the yard, you don't get that much time in the yard. You only get, I would say, 165 hours a week. You probably get 24 hours tops in the yard.
So it's full blown jail.
Like tonight, they had the live eviction and they had the HOH comp. So tomorrow they're going to set up for the POV. So you can't go in the yard.
You can't go out. Saturday, if you're a smoker, you're screwed. You're screwed.
So Saturday, they'll take the set down. So you'll get Sunday and half of Monday before they set. So if they have an elaborate competition, like when you're on the hot dogs and it takes hours and a long-term type of competition, it takes them 3 days to build it and 2 days to take it down. So you're never really out in the yard as much as it looks. So what else can you do but get on each other's nerves?
Oh, I would just,
Everything.
What was your biggest regret, do you think? If somebody wants to know. Like, what was your biggest regret?
My biggest regret is that I never watched the show before I went on the show.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
I've never seen never
it's kind of a good thing, but it's a bad thing too.
Right. Yeah. No, then I would have known.
Catch-22.
I'm from the city. I'm a pretty slick guy. I grew up in bars. I was shoe shining at 10 years old. I would have known that Paul was playing everybody off. But I thought it was me and him like this. And then I started to think to myself, maybe he's telling everyone the same thing. But if I had watched, now if you put me on, I would understand. I wouldn't be abrasive or mean. I just wouldn't do that. I have daughters that are 34, 32, 30, 28, 26, 24, 22, and a 21-year-old son. I'm not going to be mean to a young girl on the show. There's no way. Yeah. So I wouldn't be.
What about, what was your worst and best moments? Your worst moments and the best moments in the house?
My best moment was just getting to meet everyone and getting out there and and just being part of it, and it just goes by. So it goes by slow while you're there, but after you're off it now for 3 years, it seemed like it flew by. So my best moments was just meeting everybody, and I got along with everybody on the show. Nobody really, just like me on the house, in front of me. No one ever came along and said, "Kevin, you were there," until the end when I got into an argument with Matt and then with Alex.
Raven.
Yeah,
Didn't get a fight with Raven and all that.
Stick up for Matt, but
that's right.
They never said nothing in front of me. You got to understand what you guys see and what their production edits it to. It looks like they're yelling at me in front of me. No one's yelling at me in front of me. They never did. They were always respectful to me and always nice. And the only thing I regret is some of the comps. I knew I wasn't going to do good. You also got to remember, I don't think everyone understands the competitions. You go to bed, so you can go shut your lights off at 10 if you want. But I would talk and tell stories, so they would keep our lights on. They control the lights. So if once I started talking, they would put the lights on because the live feeders want to hear you talk, no matter what you're saying. So
absolutely.
The other people in the room would be like, "Kevin, stop talking." And so at 2:30 in the morning, everyone's asleep. They would wake us up. In the competition, because it was so hot during the day, they would have a camouflage cover over the top. And
I didn't know that. They had camouflage over the top when you're doing your competitions?
Yeah, because the sun would beat down so bad that
wow. And you're in the valley. It was in the valley of LA. So I can see that.
And then they would get you up to 2:30 in the morning and say, you have a half hour to get to the back door for the competition. They would have the competition at 3 in the morning because it was cooler. You know what I mean? And I'd be so tired. I'd be like, man, I'm not doing this competition. So I would just.
You have no control of the light switches. None. You have no control. They do it for you. The light switches.
You could control them, but once you start to talk, they'll turn them up. And so you go and shut them off, but then you have to be quiet. That's why I always try to cover my mouth. You got to remember there's 120 cameras and there's microphones everywhere. Even if you cover your mouth in a small room, they're going to hear what you're saying. So I would talk to Jason and I'd be like, put my hand over my mouth and he's laying right next to me. And they would like, Kevin, they wanted people who paid for the live feeds to be entertained. And if you have 12 people laying in bed and no one talking, what are the live feeders going to do? Watch people sleep? So if I would start telling stories about back home and back in Boston, they wanted me to be on the camera. So they would be like, they would turn the light on and want me to talk during the camera. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm a night owl anyhow, you know?
Me too. That's why it was so great that we got it. It's 10 o'clock your time right now. So yeah, I'm a night owl.
So where are you located, Lo?
California and Southern California.
Where? What spot?
North of LA. So probably about 40 minutes north of LA.
Okay. I went out there. I used to go out to, had a friend who was in San Diego, had a restaurant down there. And I went to
that's south.
So beautiful.
I used to live in San Diego.
Really?
In Chula Vista, right near the border.
So beautiful there, isn't it?
It's gorgeous. I think La Jolla was my favorite place in the world as far as beaches.
Beautiful.
It was perfect. It felt like it wasn't even real just to go down there. I had an agent that had an office actually and lived in La Jolla. So I would take the bus or the tram. They had like this tram, this trolley type of thing where you could go from Chula Vista all the way into downtown San Diego but yeah, that is beautiful. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
I was only like 15. I went to the Performing Arts High School there.
Really?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's pretty cool.
But we were talking, I've been friends with you on Twitter for like years. I don't even know, since you got off the show. And we always talked, and you were talk about your battle with cancer.
So I went to see my primary care, and they take your blood, they do physicals, just your basic physical every 2 or 3 years. So, but I felt great. I wasn't sick. I didn't feel sick. And, he calls me up the next day and he said, your PSA levels are high. And I didn't even know what he was talking about. So I said, okay. And so we ended up going to get checked, and I ended up having prostate cancer. So they removed that. And the only thing that I would suggest for them to do, I mean, they're the professionals. They remove my prostate, is to explain the recovery process a little more in depth. You know what I mean? because I figured I'm going to get my prostate taken out. I'll be in 2 months. I'll be back and ready. Everything will be fine. And it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? I had a few complications. We had tissue buildup, and I had to have a couple other surgeries. And you know, you're in bed a lot, and it's not as easy as just you take it out, and then you get up the next day and you're back to doing your normal thing. So you end up and then what happens? I start to feel better, and the pandemic comes.
Oh,
you know?
Lord.
You know, so
Yeah.
and then you're
I
isolated.
remember when you started getting better and you started feeling better and you were posting pictures,
Right.
and I was like, everybody was like, all right, yes, awesome. But yeah, the pandemic came and you kind of disappeared for a while. I remember not seeing you posting as much.
My opinion, and also now again, the younger kids on the shows, on all the shows, I'm friends with a lot of them, and they want to put pictures up on Instagram and things like that. They're young. That's they're trying to make a living, or they're hoping to make a living that way. I just didn't feel it appropriate what was going on in the world and in America, and you know, just coming off cancer and still dealing with a lot of issues. I just didn't put up a lot of stuff because I didn't feel, and I should have, because it could be beneficial. You know what I mean, to people, because I grew up where you didn't go to the hospital because you just never went to the hospital. So
Me too.
if you get screened early, you have a good chance. Now, if I didn't find it, you know what I mean, it could have been much worse. The results could have been much worse.
So you had no symptoms at all, and it was just a normal checkup.
I felt great. It was just a normal checkup. I was like, I thought they were joke. I was like, what? So then I figured, oh, this is going to be no problem. I'll handle this. And the recovery process is very difficult, especially for a man, not just a man. No, obviously women don't have prostate, but I mean, especially when you always were able to handle everything in your life because you are inner city top guy. You know, you can handle it all. So this happens, and you have no control.
No control. You have to give it up to God. Just let go and let God.
Really different, because all my whole life I've always had control of things. So then you start turning to other things. You may go back to drinking, things like that, things to soothe, because you feel you deserve that, because everything's going against you. You know what I mean? So you know what? I'm going to go and have a few drinks. You know what I mean? And then you get caught up having too many, you're drinking too much. You know what I mean? And in my neighborhood, it was like a prerequisite. People drank at 10, 11, 12 years old where I grew up. Just same as inner city in Philly. That's just how it was, you know, how things were. But I think that you have to get screened. You get to a certain age, even if you're afraid of doctors, afraid of doing that, you get screened, because the worst thing that can happen is they find it and it's early enough. You know,
and they catch it, so you could get
the best thing is they can tell you you got no problem. You don't got to come back for 2 to 4 years. You know,
I had a friend had breast cancer that died last year, and she didn't know. She didn't get checked up, and I'm afraid to go get checked now because I'm afraid they're going to find it. But I know that I have to.
Instead of, I feel the same way. But as you know, I lost my brother in '86 to cancer.
Yes. You were talking about that in the live feed, weren't you? I remember you talking about that.
Now on August 7th, is my birthday. My brother's birthday is until September.
Wait, your birthday's August what?
7th.
Mine's the 8th, August 8th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Leos. We're Leos. I knew there was a reason why we had a connection.
Yeah. So listen, my brother's birthday is September 26th.
Mm-hmm.
We're the same age for 7 weeks. But he was born in 1960. I was born in 61. So it's weird, because me and my brother are the same age for 7 weeks, but we're not twins. We're not, you know what I mean?
That's cool.
Yeah. So I have a sister born August 8th. I'm born August 7th. A brother born August 21st. A brother September 25th, September 26th. So
you have another brother that's August 8th?
My sister.
Your sister? Yeah. Oh, wow. I have to talk to her now. That's awesome. I'm August 8th. Yeah. My ex-boyfriend was August 7th. So we used to always celebrate together.
Definitely.
Back in the day when I was in my 20s.
Yeah. What college did you, what year did you get out of college?
Oh my gosh. I dropped out of college at a certain point, and then I went back. Really? And so I went to UCLA and I studied screenwriting. And well, first off, I went to college in Eureka up north in Humboldt County.
Yeah.
So I went to junior college up there. and me and my boyfriend broke up. So I moved back to where I'm at now in the same town. And then I went to UCLA, and then I went to Pennsylvania, Penn State.
Come on,
and then
you in Nittany Lion?
yeah, I'm from Philly, so I wanted to go to Penn State for my dad reason. He graduated from there and what have you, and I just was always like, I want to go to Penn State because my father did, and so. But I ended up going to Florida Tech instead, and then they completely screwed me over. They wouldn't give me my transcripts to transfer back to Penn State because I owed them money for late fees on books, and so yeah, it's a whole story. I studied psychology. I changed my major to psychology because there was mental illness in my family. And so I thought, especially now with people kind of the Karens that are out there. And
I got a mental health certificate. So I was certified where I can go and teach a course. Now I can't give you a certificate, but I can give you teach you a course about certain mental aspects of mental health.
What else did you do? Was that your major?
No, I didn't go to college.
Yeah, a lot of people that I knew didn't. Yeah, I just wanted to do it for my father.
You wouldn't mind, man. I'm going to be honest with you. I had maybe 25 4-year scholarships, and maybe 30. You come, and if you do good, we'll give you the rest for basketball. I had over 50 scholarship offers for basketball, and I ended up going to the neighborhood bar like everybody did. And hanging out.
I can see you. You would have been great. But yeah, I did the same thing in my 20s. I screwed up. I dropped out after junior college.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck off. So I wanted to go party, man. I wanted to go party.
In like a tough neighborhood in Boston. It's Roxbury, and we were real. And I'm with a lot of guys who were real tough guys, and they basically lived their life through violence, and that's just how it was. None of them are still around, but that's how it was, you know. So
I remember on the show, Paul would sometimes use you because you were like, Boston gangsta. So he would use you to go talk to people. And it was hilarious because I'm like, oh, he's going to ask Kevin. Watch, he's going to go get Kevin. Sure enough.
Remember, I was 6. Although when I meet people, they have two of the first things they say to me. Number one is, you were my mother's favorite. And I'm like, come on, man. I can't be everyone's mother's favorite. It's got to be, I wasn't your favorite. And they're really freaked out, like how tall I am. They're like, wow, I didn't know you were that tall. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do they have me in the show looking? Because I'm thin and I'm like 6'3", so you look much taller. You know what I mean? So they're like, wow,
but you also knew how to dress, man. You know how to dress. You have that hair, that gorgeous hair. How do you still have your hair like that? I do not know. It's perfect.
I'm a lucky guy, man.
You are, yeah.
My daughters. I'm a lucky guy.
Your daughter. You have all these beautiful kids and a beautiful wife.
And I have a secret I can tell you guys now. The first time, and she's probably going to kill me. But my daughter's due in November. She got married, and she's
congratulations.
Due in November. Yes.
Your first grandkid? Is that your first?
Yep.
Your first grandkid.
My daughters, every single one of my kids are gonna in the next 2 years graduate college. 4 of them have already graduated college. One's a social worker. I have 2 nurses. My wife's a nurse. There's 3 nurses, and one's a social worker at the Children's Hospital, the one who's having the baby. And the other one's in nursing school right now. And the other 3 are in school. They graduate next year. So I'll have all of my children will graduate college.
Oh, congratulations on that. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Maybe they could take care of me.
You know yes, absolutely. They should. Okay. I took care of my dad for 7 years.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that. Yeah.
Now, did you have a big family, Lorin?
4 kids. 2 of my brother and sister were born in Boston. I told you that. Yeah. My oldest brother and sister, because my mom's first marriage.
Yeah.
And my mom lived in Boston near the water. She loved it. So my older brother and sister.
Charles River. She lived near the Charles River. Yeah.
That over right there. Yeah. That was her favorite time, she said, in her life, was living in Boston with her kids. They're 12 and 13 years older than me. And so that was probably in the 60s that she lived there.
Great place to be.
70s, 60s, 70s. Yeah. And so then she met my father in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
She moved to Philadelphia to be with her mom and her older sister. And I can't remember. I think actually this is what happened. My aunt married someone from Philadelphia and moved there. And then my grandmother was like, well, I want to be close to her. So she moved there. So that's where they met. My mom moved there too after her divorce, and she met my dad. And then my other sister came. They had my sister.
Yeah.
And then me, I was
a pretty hip scene in the 60s and 70s, man. They had a club scene was hip.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of, it's like Philly. There's a lot of sections. You had the Italian section, the Irish section.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just what life was.
There was blocks. Like
Yeah.
in Philadelphia, there was like the Jewish block and then Irish, they mixed. And then there was the Puerto Rican block. And then it was like that. Yeah. There's certain blocks that I wasn't allowed to go to, you know, when I would stay at my aunt's house every summer.
And you gotta remember, I don't know if you remember, but they started in 74, they started busing in Boston. So what they would do is take the inner city kids and bring them to other sections of Boston. And there was so much hate and so much violence that they were.
Oh, I read about that. Yeah.
Really bad. Really. I mean,
my mom never talked about that, but I remember hearing about it.
By the National Guard. They would make put their shields up and we would walk through the shield. And once you got across the street, you were on your own. So your people's fathers would be across the street waiting. But it was a really violent time back then. In 70.
Wow.
Yeah. It was different.
I read about the busing in back in that time, but they did that in every big city.
When you're down chilling, just Google it and get some of the scenes, and you'll be like, oh my God, because it's like 50-year-old men would be throwing bricks at 12-year-old kids and stuff. Oh, it was really, really violent, really bizarre, really bizarre. It was a real violent time. That's why Boston, as everyone knows, has a racial overtone where they think they're prejudiced. You know what I mean? When in terms of that, I grew up in a neighborhood that we were minority. It was all black, Spanish, and like a section of. We all got along though. I never not got along. I got along with everybody.
Yeah, me too. And there was
I really got along with everybody.
Yeah, like I said, there was Puerto Rican, Italian, Irish.
Yeah. Like no one ever said to me,
all of them.
No one ever said to me, "Hey, you're Catholic or you're white," or this, and wanted to fight me. They would probably fight you because you dunked a basketball on them, or some girl liked you or something like that. Yeah, but no one ever got mad at me because
you had to be tough. You had to be tough. I remember getting cornered in the alley, you know, by by a group of people, and it was boys, and they wanted me to climb a ladder. They wanted me to climb the ladder, so they would, I was wearing a skirt. They wanted to see my skirt.
Really?
But I remember the girl I was with, she's Irish. She was like running the other way, and I just got caught. And so I just said, okay, whatever. I wasn't afraid. Yeah. I wasn't afraid of them.
No, if you get afraid, you're not going to be able to go to them.
That's what I said. I said, I'm not going to be able to come down this alley anymore if I act like I'm afraid. So you had to be tough back then. I had to fight people, other girls, and you just did what you had to do. If they got in your face, you're just like, what, like.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm not going to like.
What do you think about this season so far? It's only a weekend, but what do you think? Do you like anybody? What do you think about this season?
I forgot we were talking about the season. I like Tiffany. Yeah. I love Tiffany. She's a badass.
I like Xavier.
Oh yeah, I like her too. Absolutely.
Xavier, the other guy,
okay.
He's laying back. He's keeping his cool.
Okay, you're right. Yeah.
So they voted the kid off. Who I didn't get to watch a couple shows because I was in Vermont and we had no service, so I didn't see the first show. But the kid they voted off tonight, he took his shirt off when they had the live eviction. He ends up taking his shirt off, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And then he said some bizarre things. So he was like, yeah, well, I knew that the white guy with abs was going to be the first one to go. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And then
who was it? Was it the smart kid that has his own business? Is that who they kicked off?
No, it's a kid from Hawaii.
That's the one they kicked off?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because nobody didn't really like him anyways.
He took his shirt off. And then there's another handsome kid who wears dreadlocks. Really handsome, nice teeth, nice smile. And then you got a Philly, Joe Frazier's son's in there.
Oh, I love him from Philly. Yes, I'm rooting him on too.
March 8th, 1971. Ali fought Frazier. I met Muhammad Ali.
You did? You're lucky. That's awesome.
Then I was in Boston. I was playing a basketball game in like 79, and the buzz in the gym was Muhammad Ali's and Vinnie Marino's, which was a bar across the street, because Vinnie Marino was an old school boxer from Boston. And
Yes.
man, everyone dropped the basketballs. They ran out. Out comes the door. The man's like 6'4". You know that, right? 6'3",
Yes.
6'4".
Huge.
He had a leather
But you're
jacket on.
6'3".
He was so nice to us, so cool. So I was gonna tweet about that, but I even have someone more. Although Ali's one of my idols. You know who else is you know who my favorite basketball player is? Dr. J. Julius Erving, Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, okay.
Favorite basketball
Yeah.
of all time is Dr. J.
Yes.
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 So
He's awesome too.
I have a story that it's going to blow your mind. Me and my brother.
If my dad watched sports, it was basketball, and he loved obviously the Eagles. You know, that was his thing too. But my dad wasn't that big into sports. But when he did, it was like.
Well, we used to bet on it. So we used to bet on the game.
Fights.
Yeah. But I became good friends with DJ of the Celtics. So I used to go into the locker room with the Celtics and all that stuff like that. And Dr. J was just my favorite because he was the first one to come with the dunks. But let me tell you a story. In 72, me and my brother, we're up the park. Everyone used to just go up the park in the morning and hang out. And this guy comes up and they're going to have a track and field competition. So me and my brother said, okay. So we come in first and second. And then they move us to a bigger part of Boston where a bigger track, White Stadium was called. It was a real tough neighborhood. And me and my brother came in the top 3. Then we ended up going to the Jesse Owens Jr. track meet at BU in Boston University. Mm-hmm. And me and my brother in the 12 and under 100-yard dash. And we're looking at each other. And there's 6 kids who look like men. They got beards. Me and my brother come in 7th and 8th. We come in dead last. They come in dead last, me and my brother. But this man walked over to us and said, son, come up, let me speak to you. It was Jesse Owens.
Wow.
He wrote me, I have it, I found it, and my daughter framed it. He wrote a thing to me because you're a participant in the Jesse Owens Jr. track meet. And this man was so dignified. And me and my brother, we came in 7th and 8th, but he came over. He shook our hand. He signed these letters to us. My brother's been in heaven 35 years, and Jesse Owens died 8 years after that. But if anyone really studies American history, Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals in Munich and in Berlin in 1936 in front of Hitler, and Hitler wouldn't shake his hand. So I met probably the greatest American athlete from 1970 beyond down. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's really impressive. I'm sorry about saying wow. You were talking over and over again.
He signed it. He said, best of luck, Kevin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, because we were like, man, we can. And my dad, who never came to nothing, he's up there, and it looks like Donnie Brasco. He's with all guys with leather jackets on, and they're up in the stands, and they're watching us. And me and Richie are looking over at each other. And I'm telling you, we were these little skinny guys, you know, no hair on our body except our head. And we were like, what the and we're looking like they were finished so far ahead of us that me and Richie come in 7th and 8th. And we sat down and we weren't crying out there. No one really cried. And Jesse Owens come over and talked to us personally and signed letters. And I found them that I had put away. I found the letter from 1972 from Jesse Owens. Yeah. Unbelievable.
That's like a one in a lifetime thing.
I also hung out with Prince one night in the green room at a club in Boston, and he gave me a tambourine to give my brother because my brother was dying at the time. And he gave me a purple tambourine that said, love God. And I still have the tambourine that Prince gave me in 1986.
Prince gave you that?
Yes. I sat in the room with Prince he was the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He was only, I'd say Prince is maybe 5'2". He was 5'2" or something like that. He was so small. But everyone, during that time, it was, you know, when the movie Purple Rain came out. So he came to a club in Boston, and I was working the door. But I used to just walk around and do what I wanted. I never really did a job. I was just walking around. So I got on stage, and Prince is performing, and we go backstage to the green room. And I'm like, listen, man, I told him the story about my brother. You know, he gave me a hug. He said, here, I want you to give this to your brother. And he was going to go to the hospital, but he said it would cause too much of a commotion because my brother was in the ICU. I mean, he was playing.
Did he, though? Did he sign something for your brother?
He gave me the tambourine that said love God on it, a purple tambourine.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Prince. I
He
almost
was
met
a
him, but I was
sweetheart.
too
Let me
afraid.
tell you, he was. Everyone gave me the impression of, oh, Prince is this and that. Man, he was one of the nicest guys I ever
He
met.
did the best side eye, like,
Yes, and he,
like I was at a club
listen,
and he was in the
oh,
corner, and everyone was like, let's go meet him. And I was too young to even be at this club, and I wanted to meet him, but I got so nervous that I left the club, and he was in the corner, and he asked one of his people came over to us, me and my friend, and we wanted to meet him, but
what
my
year was
friend
this?
met him and I didn't meet him.
What year?
It was in the 80s, and I was just so young and scared, and I was like shaking
No,
uncontrollably. I was so scared to meet him. And
he was.
I think it was his bodyguard came over, and they wanted me and my friend to go over there. My friend was older. She was like my sister's friend, and she
Yeah,
was able to get in the club, and she gave me one of her old IDs. So that's how I got in. Was she was using her newer one, and then I came in later, and I was using her older one, and I
yeah.
kind of looked like her. She had dark hair, and she looked like somebody that Prince would like. You know what I mean? So
Hey,
he had
man,
someone
listen,
come
man.
over.
Anybody ever says anything bad about him, he was the coolest. He literally sat with me for 40 minutes because he had just finished his set and they were doing a live aid. So you had whole Todd Runnigan was there, Peter Frampton, whole bunch of people were performing, and I sat backstage. Remember the group, the time
Yes,
they were there, and the guy
love them.
Jerome. So we sat together hanging out, and he listened to
Morris Day.
Morris.
Wasn't it Morris
Yeah,
Day and the yeah.
listen,
Oh,
he listened to my story about my brother. He gave me a tambourine, and
a tambourine.
he wished me luck, and he thought I was crazy because I went like right up to him and talked to him, and I'm like, "Hey, you made the movie? Yeah, my friend likes the movie. I didn't see it yet." And he was like, "What the hell?" And then he was like, "Come on, you want to come back in?" So I went in the back, the little green room they had set up, and I didn't see him drink. I didn't see him act aggressive. I didn't see him act like they would say that, how some of the stars, they say a womanizer. He was a gentleman. He was so cool and so nice, and he would treated me with so much respect. I was shocked. I was like, he's one of my favorites now. So yeah, I met him. I met Ali. I met Jesse Owens. I met Dr.
Yeah.
J. Yeah.
You were just I loved your stories in the house,
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone wanting to audition? Because I have a roommate that really, really wants to be on
I
that
would
show.
say, it's just that now that's even gets
And
me.
he's like your age. Oh, no, he's younger. He's in his 50s, so I'm
But
sure that
so he's got to be down and out that the oldest person is only 40, and then
that's sad. Yeah.
12 out of the 16 are 28 and under.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so
That's
young.
bullshit.
So most of the people that I meet, I mean, of course, you'll have people run out of their car and say, "Hey, Kevin," but my mom loves you. But most of the people I meet are 40 and over who want to try out for the show. And if you're
Right?
not going to cast anyone 40 and over, why would you even try out? You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
I think it was a bad move on their behalf because I mean, regardless, maybe they can't do the comps. Some of the young kids couldn't do the comps. You know what I mean?
Right. Look at
Yeah,
Jerry. Remember Jerry? Yeah, he kicked ass. Season
yeah.
10, I think it was. And I
Who?
love Jerry. That was one of my favorites. And he was like 67 or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
The
he
old
used to win
Marine guy.
competitions.
Yeah.
He
So
was like in the Marines or
I
something.
would
And
say when you go there, you got to remember that they
Evil
want.
Dick.
I know.
Fucking kicked. Actually, he was like, wasn't he 45 though when he played?
Evil's younger than me by 3 years. So
Yeah,
uh, Evil.
love
I would
him.
say number one is you don't say, "Well, I play like this person," because you want to be yourself. You want to be what they first want, and you got to remember the whole bottom line is in everything. It's money and it's ratings. So if they're going to feel that you're going to give them the ratings they want, you have to be yourself. You can't go in there and dress like Paul, go in there looking like Paul. No, there's been one Paul already. Well, I'm just saying Paul because people will know.
I love Paul, but when he wore that pull floaty, I was like, okay, enough. Like
Yeah,
the first time it was cute, and then after that, it's like, okay, get rid of the
yeah.
floaty.
So you don't want to go in there and say that. And now again, older people meaning 40 and over, you have to bring some kind of style or finesse or something that they're going to say, the people in America are going to want to watch this person and it's going
Yeah.
to be exciting and they have a chance. They're not going to be voted off because a lot of times when you get there, they just take you, the older person's the first one's taken out and they just see if everyone conforms with it. And if they do, then they know you're on the same team. So I would just say, be yourself. Don't say, I want to play like Kevin, the way Kevin played, or I can play like Kevin. Just go there and tell them, listen, I think I can bring ratings to you, to your show. I think I'd be beneficial to you guys, because the bottom line is they only really care about the ratings. I mean,
Right.
to be honest
Yeah.
with you. And I'm not putting them down. That's their job. Their job is to get a show at high rate. And everyone talks how bad my season was. We had the highest
It was
ratings.
the best. I loved your season.
You know, we had
Yeah.
the highest ratings.
You
We
had
like 11 million people watch one night. Some of the shows, the All-Star shows, had 2 million people watch.
I mean, Cody might have been. I didn't like Cody when I first saw him because he didn't have a personality, but he brought the ratings. Him and Jessica brought the ratings, and I ended up kind of liking him, more as the time went on. But at first, I was like, "What is wrong with him?" like.
Yeah. Well, you know what happens? What happens is when you put 16 people in there, people come from different backgrounds, different lifestyles, different things happen in their life. People may have one parent. People may have lost a brother. People came and they've had things that they've been through their whole life. So when you start to put them in, everyone's not going to be the same. I mean, this life is not all the same, man. Everyone's.
Would you advise like lying about your age or not saying your age, or do you have to?
We had a birthday party in there for me.
Yeah, I know. For you, you're good television. You were on there for a reason, because they knew that everyone would like you, but they also knew that you would do well in the house, and you did. You came in 4th place.
Definitely, I would have. And if I had won that comp at the end, if I had just studied, because they knew what the comp was going to be. Paul was a super fan. He had known, and Josh had known, and they were telling me it's going to be a memorized comp. So you would say, on this, who was the first person that was voted off by a 12-member vote? You know what I mean? Whatever. And I'd be like, who cares? And they were like, Kevin, you have to study this stuff.
So
they would sit with each other at night and ask each other questions while I was in bed having ice cream and whipped cream, laying in bed in the corner, sitting there.
What's your favorite ice cream, by the way?
They only had chocolate there that I liked. My favorite.
Yeah, I love chocolate plain.
Chocolate, and I would put whipped cream on it, because when you don't eat, when you don't know it, I really didn't cook much of my own.
They allowed you to eat ice cream when you were on slop?
No, you can eat like olives and pineapples, pieces of it, and things like that. But the slop wasn't as bad. When you haven't eaten for 2 days,
it's not bad.
Man, you got to be,
maple syrup, brown sugar.
Yeah.
What about Raven? She lied a lot. What was that about? Was that her gameplay?
I think her age. She was so young and was so caught up in the moment and thought that it was going to be beneficial, and it may have turned on her. But she keeps in contact with me, and she's not as far left as people think. She just wanted to win, and she thought to play this way was going to be beneficial towards her. And what they don't forget is that you watch 24 hours a day.
Everyone knows. Everyone watches you.
You can play a certain person for a week or two, but when you get 6 weeks, 8 weeks in, you start to show your real personality in the real you. You can't hide it 24 hours a day. You just can't. So
because nobody liked her, because they're saying her lies they were going too far.
It was bizarre.
And
it was bizarre.
Yeah, it was really weird.
I wouldn't criticize, because I have at least 5 daughters older than her. I wouldn't criticize, but it was a bizarre way to play into.
I was thinking that. I'm like, is this her gameplay to make people feel sorry for her, or is she really like this? Like she. Yeah. But then I saw videos of her and her mom and trying to get money, and I just thought maybe it's just that's what's going on in her family,
And you have to understand that when we grew up, we didn't have the social media existence that's now, you know what I mean? Which means like I don't even know what a filter is. I don't even know. Like I do a cameo or something, and I do a cameo in a minute and a half, and I never retake. If I've done almost 300, I may retake one of them because the dog was barking or something. I just don't. I don't put on makeup. I don't do none of that. What you see is what you get. You know what I mean? And a lot of people like that. And nowadays, these younger kids are forced where you almost have to compete. So they're like competing with like the Kardashians. You have, I mean, what are you going to
go
do?
there.
I mean, these girls they get up at 5 in the morning to put makeup on for 1 o'clock shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would get up at 12:52 if I had a 1 o'clock shoot. I would get up at 12:52 and do it then. So,
you guys are all doing cameo. That's why so many people didn't want to be on my show. Because I tried to get other people as well, but you were my top 10. I have a top 10.
why wouldn't they be on your show?
I don't know. I don't know if they think they're too good for it, or some people get big headed, or
Anyone my season?
they're not getting paid.
They just told you.
So I contacted Josh. I contacted Paul. Paul won't do it. Those two, you three were on my top 3 of that your season. So I thought, okay, but I got Howie, who I loved from 2 seasons that he did. So I was like, okay, great. I got Howie. Howie's super cool. I got Evil Dick, and he has his own show. Yeah. So that was good. I really loved talking to him too. So and then that's a great show. By the way, I need to subscribe to that. I keep forgetting to subscribe because I love watching that show. But other people I've contacted, Rachel Riley, nope. She didn't. It's funny because I wrote to her and she didn't respond. It was like weeks went by and I was like, okay, obviously she's not going to respond. So I wrote back and I said, I thought that you would be the type that would respond. I go, it's unfortunate that you didn't. So she wrote back and she's like she is in real life. I mean, she just like that. So she wrote back and she's all, mad at me. And she's like, why would you say that? And I don't know, but it was funny because I'm like, okay, that's just how she is. I like her still. I'm not mad at her.
When they tend to be off the show 3, 4, 5, 6 years, then they'll start calling you back to ask to go on your show. You know what I mean? Yeah. When they're still doing, a lot of them still doing the challenge and other things.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. The challenge. So yeah, they're still kind of working in the business and they're getting other. So yeah, it was hard.
A boxing match, right?
Pardon?
They're having a boxing match. Canada against USA. And Big Brother. Like,
are they really?
Fighting someone from Canada. Fessy's fighting someone from Canada. KC's fighting someone from Canada. Rockstar.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have it.
Where can I watch this? Fessy?
It's going to be on pay-per-view.
I'm sorry. I couldn't stand him on the show. I don't know how he is in real life.
It's run by.
Didn't he call himself the Messiah or something?
What's that?
Didn't Fessy call himself the Messiah, or was that somebody else?
I don't know. When I meet him, he's cool with me. But I mean, again, you have to start living up to this. They build you up so much that you have to live that reputation. So you just can't. If you drop down and you don't put that up there, you have to almost live up to a fake.
That was
unrealistic
Josiah. Josiah, who's the Messiah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Josiah thought he was the Messiah. I did not like him at all, but I don't know him. I don't know him.
Called himself Messiah?
Yeah, Josiah. What season was that? Do you know? I'm asking.
I have no idea.
What season was Josiah on? You could come on if you want, Roger.
Let me look it up.
Me and him interviewed Howie. It was so fun. But yes, it's easier to do one-on-one for me.
So anyhow, let me just tell you guys now, because it's coming to the end. They sent the kid from Hawaii home, and the only person, the 2 people Frenchie put on the block initially were Alyssa and Kylan, right? I don't know if that's how you say his name. That's how you say it in Boston. And Kylan won the HOH. So now he's have to put up
Frenchie. Yes. No offense. I mean, I don't know him, but
yeah,
Frenchie's got to go.
Josiah was on season 18.
Really? Okay, Josiah. Season 18, the season before yours.
You know what I mean? He came on too strong, too
early.
Too
strong, too quickly. That's what I'm saying. He played the game too hard, too quickly.
The way I thought, the first couple weeks, man, I was just talking with people. How you doing?
You were chilling.
Yeah. Now, that's what I think is the best way to make it through the first couple of weeks. I don't think saying I'll never put a woman up, or I'm never going to put a person of color up, and then you put up a
Yeah.
woman and a person of color. What the hell is wrong with you? You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. I think that he made alliances with everyone.
Yeah.
And then he starts, I don't like the fact that he attacks people. Like he goes
He's playing too fast, too much. It's only
Right?
7 days in, guys. It goes 100 days, 94 days. I mean, by the time they get through that, he's not going to make it that far. I don't think he's going to.
No, I don't think so. I think that if I were the person that he put up, if I was, I would put him up. He
He's
has
trying
to
to make
go.
a girl alliance today. So he leaves the room, and he got all the ladies around, and he's like, I think we should have a female alliance. So he gets up and leaves the room, and they look at each other and said, he's not a female. What the hell is he talking about? And then he went out and made alliances with other people. He made an alliance with everybody in the house. I never made an alliance. They used to ask me, Kevin, why aren't you aligned with anybody? I said, because it seems like everyone's aligned with other people. So I never actually had an alliance. I would listen to what Paul said periodically, but I never believed that me and Paul were going to be the ones who go to the end. You would have to win comps to do that, you know?
Oh yeah, you were smart. You hung around that little group. There's a little group. There was Josh and Christmas and
Jason?
who else? Who else?
Jason, the cowboy.
Jason, the cowboy. I loved him. We all loved the cowboy.
And
there were some things said about him after the fact that he said on live feeds, but I didn't pay attention to that. I just shit happens. You know what I mean?
Right. I never took any of that personal. Never.
Him and Alex had a great thing going. They were so funny together.
Yeah.
But you guys, that little group that you guys had was great.
Yeah, we sit
and you guys made it to the end.
That room. It was the air conditioner was right above us, so we would sit in there. We made it comfortable. They were like couches; they weren't beds. So you make it nice and comfortable, and you would lay there at night and talk. You had to do something to pass the time. You have to stop being inventive.
Oh, totally.
To make things do to pass the time.
That's a good lead-in, Kevin. I was going to ask you, how did you fight boredom? There must have been periods of absolute boredom.
Oh my God,
where you would have gone out of your mind.
Listen, man, the deprivation of doing nothing is the hardest thing of everything. That's why it's a mental game. Literally, you would pray that you could go to sleep and sleep straight through the night, because that would kill 9 hours right there. Because I never was one who would stay in bed during the day. Once I heard that back door open, I was on. That's why you would see me in the yard all the time. Once I heard that back door open, I would go out to that backyard and I'd stay there all day.
Is that why nobody swims anymore? For some reason, the pool is not highlighted as it used to be.
So hot out back that you can't even walk in that artificial turf without your flip-flops on. You have to run. So a lot of them were like, I don't want to get sunburned. I'm like, you're in California, man. It's the summer. What the hell are you talking about?
Super hot.
Yeah.
I lived in the valley. I lived in Studio City. It was like 150 degrees now. It wasn't that hot, but it was hot.
I would get the luxury of, so you get Sunday, and then half a Monday in the yard. And then Tuesday, you would get ready for a competition. And then Thursday was a live eviction. So you'd have to schedule your week where you knew you were going to be deprived, especially when no one's talking to you. I mean, it's easy if you're in a showmance. You're hanging around with a girl or you're hanging around with a guy and they're scratching your back and you're hugging and you're doing things together. Well, I had nobody. I was on my own. So
you're married. You're not. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're on your own. But you're so good at talking. You're such a Caucasus, or you're that type of person. So my roommate would probably do really well because he gets along with everyone too. But he's old.
Man. What's he? How old is he? 50?
Roger, talk.
54, but I'll be 55 in December.
December what?
7th.
Pearl Harbor. The day they were living infamy. Your birthday will live in infamy. You know that. You go with all of that, right? That's how you start off from the beginning. Let me just tell you,
there's this gal,
and they'll be like, "What the hell is he talking about?"
There's a gal in the house this season. The chemist. She's saying she's a voice actress. I spotted that right away. It's like, that girl's not a voice actress, because I'm a voice actor, and I know exactly what a voice actor sounds like in terms of, she doesn't know any of the lingo. She doesn't know any of the technical jargon or anything.
Right.
So
yeah, they all everyone becomes a CEO. After the first week under the name of the CEO.
So what made you audition? If you hadn't seen past episodes, how did you decide to audition for this?
This is a 100% truth. I tell everyone. So
Hello?
I'm going down to meet my daughter at the aquarium. So I never really take the train, or they call it the commuter rail, or I've never taken it in my life. So I go down, I get on the commuter rail. It's March 17th or 22nd. It's one of the coldest days in Boston. So I get to the aquarium, and the pipes had burst, so she's going to be 2-3 hours late. So right next to the aquarium is Quincy Market. It's like a social place for people go and hang out. But it was so cold, everything was closed. One bar was open called Ned Devine's, and it was a line of people, a quarter mile. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I have a suit on, I have a long cashmere jacket on. So I cut and just walk in front of the whole line and go right in. So this dude comes up to me and he like pokes at me, and I'm like, who are you? And I said, who are you? And he said, are you here to try out for the show? And I was like, what show? So I called my daughter and I told her, and she was like, you're just joking. And I said, no. So a couple of other house guests were there, Derek, a few other people, and everyone really liked me. So when they interview you, when you first try out, they interview you in groups of 6. You don't get a private interview.
Oh, wow.
So you get 30 seconds to talk with 5 other people next to you. So I was like, nah, I don't know if I want to do it, man. He said, just do it. Because I was in a suit. I was dressed nice looking. And I said,
dressed nice.
So I get up there and I was like, listen, so, I never watched the show. My daughters are big fans. They'd be surprised if I can get on. And, I have 8 children. They were like, what? Are you serious? So they called me back when I went home. And I said, listen, they're calling me back. So you go to a hotel and you meet them. And then you do your private interview. So he had a list of questions, same as me talking to you, like 10 questions. He only asked 1 question, and I talked for 40 minutes. And he was behind the camera, dying laughing. The guy was laughing. They called me back again, and then they bring 3 other people in, and you do another interview. So then, like 3 weeks go by. So I said, oh, screw it. I'm not getting picked. And I get a call from LA. Can you fly out to LA? So my daughters are thinking I'm making this up. I'm like, what do you think? I'm going to fly out to LA on my own? What are you talking about? So then you go to LA, and you get interviewed. And then they do a background check, like so extensive. They knew I got into a fight in 1978. I was like, what the hell? What are you talking about? Well, did you get arrested in 78? I said, well, like 13 of us did. But it was just a neighborhood fight. You know what I mean? So then they call you back. Then it really gets going. You start meeting with production and big bosses, and they start asking in-depth questions. And when I started to talk, they only would ask one question. I would talk to other people who were being interviewed, and they would ask them 10, 12 questions. I only wanted 2 questions, and then I rambled on. And I would see them when I would leave, and they'd be like, some of them would be scratching their head. What the hell is he talking about? Because on my accent, they couldn't understand what I was saying. And the rest of them were like, they thought I was cool. So I just kept going on. You end up going out there like 4 or 5 times before they finally come to your house.
Did they fly you out?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they really take care of you. And then
when they come to your house, do they do a little, they videotape you at home so they could show it in the beginning?
They call me and say, we'll be there at 9 in the morning. But where I grew up and where I live now is like 20 miles away. So I took the crew into my neighborhood. So they're filming in my neighborhood, and my friend Gogo comes up, and you could smell alcohol on his breath. And Gogo said, man, shut that effing camera off. And I was like, Gogo, relax. He said, no, Kevin, tell him to shut that shit off. He can't be filming in our neighborhood. So I was like, you're going to have to shut the camera off. And then I said, the guy come out, I said, can you get pizzas for everyone? Because there was like 12 of them. Cameraman. And the guy made pizzas for everyone, gave them pizzas. We walked around my neighborhood. I showed them my neighborhood. We came back home. They filmed my yard. They filmed my house. They order pizza. I open up the pizza. There's a key in the pizza box, right? Once that happened, the guy said, let me see your phone. And I said, all right, cool, here. And he took my phone, and I didn't get my phone back till September 24th or something like that.
So they do that. They come, and so you know they're coming. But that moment that you see the key,
yes.
The moment you see the key is real. That's a real moment. When you're still, when you see the key for the first time?
Well, they opened up the pizza box and they kept pushing this pizza that I didn't eat. I was like saying, I don't eat onion pizza. I don't want the onion pizza. They were like, Dad, open the box. And I was
Open
like,
the damn box.
So they had no. So then you get in a van outside. That's it. You don't even get to say goodbye. They didn't get, you can't say. So I said, wait, I got to get my clothes, man. And I had packed like 12 suits. So they fly out to LA. We get to LA at 3 in the morning, LA time. And we're on the tarmac for another hour. I get to the hotel at 4:30 in the morning. I get met by one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet. I go in the hotel room and I hang my suits up around the outskirts of the hotel room. The guy comes in and said, why did you bring so many suits? And I said, well, don't we get to go out to dinner? He said, Kevin, have you ever watched the show? He said, no. And he said, you're going to have to come down here. You guys are going to have to come down here. So
like,
5:30 in the morning.
Man, you don't know where the hell you are, do you?
6 of them came down and were like, what the fuck?
Why do you
have all these suits? So I was like, what do you mean? So they took 8 suits and sent them back because you couldn't wear suits that were camera unfriendly. So I had a solid brown, a solid blue, a solid black, and a solid gray one. After that, they sent all my other suits back home.
Can I ask you a question? When you did you know you were already on the show when you packed, or did they tell you to pack, not knowing yet if you were on the show?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. See, I told you, Roger.
So they
do they give you a suggested packing list of things to take with you and what not to take with you?
Yes, and I didn't listen to that. I brought suits, shoes, I brought cufflinks, I brought tie clips, you
look sharp.
I brought 15 different ties. They sent half of my stuff, more than half of my stuff back. They have young girls come in who are stylists. They come in that next morning after you sleep a couple hours. They throw everything on the floor and they go like this. They throw half over there. And I'm like, that's all I get to keep? You couldn't wear Nike underwear. I had underwear that said Nike on it. You couldn't wear that. You couldn't wear Nikes. They took everything that had any logo on it or anything except if you were like from a college. They would let you keep that. And I didn't have no college stuff. So they sent all my stuff back home, all of it. So I ended up with like 4 suits. I still had more than everybody in the house. I mean, So
they do show people packing. So they were there to show you pack, but you didn't know for sure if you were going to be on the show until you opened the pizza and you saw the key. Okay.
Yeah. And once that happens, you're cut off. After that,
give me your phone.
I didn't speak to one person in my house. From that moment, I got put in the van in my driveway. Why they went up to my room and got my clothes. So my daughters put my clothes together. They come out with my suitcases. I said to them, man, can we stop here? And can I call my brother from your phone just to tell him to keep an eye on everybody because I'm gone? And they dialed the number, made me put it on speaker. And I said, hey, Tommy, man, I'm going out to LA. It looks like I'm going to be out there for like a couple of months. Can you make sure everyone's all right? And he said, yep. And the guy hung up right then. And that was it. So then when I get to the airport, I said I have to go to the bathroom. And now you got to remember, they're bringing all of their luggage from filming. They had like 39 pieces of luggage. So the guy took like an hour to check everything in. And I couldn't even go to the bathroom without someone coming into the bathroom. And I was like, what do you think I'm going to do in the bathroom? Well, you could ask someone for their phone. I said, I'm not going to ask someone for the phone in the men's room at the Logan Airport. What the hell's wrong with you?
Well, you literally get no privacy from even before. Were you put in sequester like a week before?
What's that?
Were you put in sequester in a hotel like a week before?
Yes. And let me tell you about the hotel. All right. They take your TV out. They shut your phone off.
Jesus.
They blacken out your windows. You have no communication with nobody at all. You pick the phone up, it goes right to production, and you could say, could you send me down some bacon and eggs? Or they bring you a little video player this big, and they bring you CDs. But the CDs they brought me in to watch movies, all of them skipped. So I watched Back to the Future like 25 times. It's the only one that worked. So I ended up taking baths.
I love that movie.
And then I scraped a little section out of the window because they had blackened them out. And of course, I get the hotel room, which is where they do the bringing the stuff to the hotel. So all I could see is mountains. So the only way I knew what time it was by the sun coming down in the mountains and the sun going up. So you're in there for A whole week. That's the hardest thing of all. That's why the opening night, they get you there opening night at 6 a.m. You don't go on till 6 at night, which is 9 o'clock Boston time. They give you champagne. Everyone don't shut up. That's why everyone runs in talking, because everyone's been deprived.
They're all excited. They're like, oh my God.
Nothing. For 1 week, literally couldn't do nothing. I watched Back to the Future. That's the only movie that worked. So I would let it play because they play music in it at times, and I would just listen to it and just lay in bed and do sit-ups and push-ups, take a bath, do sit-ups and push-ups, take a bath. They wouldn't even let you have a glass of wine. They wouldn't let you. You could have
wine.
Nothing. I was in there for Father's Day. So
when you show up that day when you first meet everyone, that's really the first time you're meeting everyone, and so
you never see them before that ever.
Okay.
So that's why. So then you put in a hallway after staying in the room and again for 12 hours. And that's why they give you some champagne when you go in the hotel, in the house. Everyone wants to talk because you've been deprived for a week of talking. Yeah. So everyone's
I could do that easy.
Yeah,
actually. That would be nothing for me.
Sounds like a nightmare.
What's that?
Yeah.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they want everyone to just love seeing each other.
So that's why you see people get in there and they start talking and saying everything, and they basically let their guard down. Because that's what production wants. They want excitement, and they want you to break into showmances or whatever you do, and you pair up with somebody. And I'm looking around like, man, what am I going to do, man? I had a suit on. I won the money the first night, but they put us in like these tangerines, and they lifted you up. It had to be 125 degrees out there. I started to undress, and they were like, Kevin, please put your clothes back on. And I'm like, my suit was soaked right through. Let me
ask you something about Josh. During that competition, he kind of flipped out on that girl that ended up going home. She had anxiety disorder, and what happened? Yeah. Why did he? What happened that made him do that?
I don't. You know, she was. I don't. I think maybe to distract from taking the attention off him. I don't know. It was bizarre. He jumped over, and he was like ranting and raving, but he ended up winning. So he knew he outsmarted most people.
I felt sorry for her because she was being attacked by everyone, and she was like, "Fuck this shit." She just left. She's like, "I'm out of here."
Cody nominated her and said, "Well, I nominated you because I simply don't like you.
I just don't like you." Like, what's that? Yeah, that was weird. And what else did I want to ask you about? Everyone fighting with Cody. Was that justified or?
I personally, I don't understand what people would say. I never fought with him. What happened was one day we were in the back and he said, Kev, can I talk to you? And I said, yeah, what's up? He said, what advice would you give or whatever if you're having a child? And I would say, just be there. The key is just to be there. Maybe bad times, good times, but be there. That's the only thing I could tell you. And then he said, okay, I want to tell you I had a daughter. I have a daughter. So I thought, honestly, I went in with no ill will, not trying to get him in trouble. I thought maybe we would give them. I used to say to him, leave the dude alone, man. You guys are yelling at him. You know we're going to vote him out this week. Why can't you leave him alone? And they would be mad I was talking to him. So I try to make him look more like a normal person to allow everyone to know, he has a kid, man. Relax, stop.
He's just socially awkward. He's socially awkward, but just leave him the fuck alone.
But that's the only thing I ever got heat for, that they said that I went and talked about his daughter, which is crazy. I mean, I have 7 daughters. What the hell am I going to talk about his daughter for? You know what I mean?
Were talking. I didn't know that you were talking about his daughter.
No, and I told people he had a daughter.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you didn't know that he didn't tell everyone. Yeah, you didn't know.
I just wanted to make him seem a little more personal.
Human? A little more human.
He was so introverted. He wasn't socialized with anyone but Jessica. So I just wanted to let everyone know, the dude's got a daughter. He's not as bad as you guys. I mean, they were constantly on him. Everything he did.
Everything, yeah. It was because he had antisocial personality, and he could be kind of a dick sometimes. And so,
cast him on Big Brother because you have to.
I don't know why they cast him. You know what's funny? Because when he got interviewed, when he got interviewed after he left the house, he was like, everyone's like, why didn't he act like this in the house?
And that's what I try to do is make him a little more personalized, like he's a man, he's got a child. Guys,
I'm under the impression that production manipulates people's personalities so they present them in a different way, in a certain way.
More than 100%.
And how do they do that? Do they bring you into the diary room and tell you what to say?
They never told me. They tell everyone. They would bring you in the diary room and they would say, Kevin, this person was talking about you. And I would look. You never see a person. You're talking to a camera. There's no one in the diary room. You never see another human being. It's a camera.
So they would actually tell you.
In the camera,
they would be gossiping to you.
We know you were there. Sit still and be quiet until we come. So you just sit there, and then hey, you here? And I'm like, yep. And they were like, well, this person was talking about you. And I'd be like, listen, man, I have like kids older than that person. I'm not going out there and yelling at them. If they want to talk about me, let them talk. They're not talking in my face to me. This is early in the season.
They wanted to fight. They wanted people fighting.
They wanted me to run out of the did you talk about me? And then it'd be a big fight. And I wasn't.
One thing I've learned in my older years was that I don't worry about people who talk about me behind my back.
Hey,
I start to worry when they stop talking about me.
Yes, that's the old saying. It's better to be talking about than to not be talked about. That's the old saying.
That's good that you never got involved in the drama. And I remember you breaking up a fight. I think it was between Josh and who was it between?
Mark.
Who? Mark.
Yeah.
Mark. Sorry, my brother talked Mark. My brother's name is Mark, and my sister calls him Mark. I love that accent.
Yeah.
But yeah, you broke up a fight between those two, and I was like, Josh would just get in your face. Oh, I wanted to ask you this. I know it's so stupid, but that season was one of my favorites, and there's a lot of drama. Okay, Cody and Jessica hated Josh. What was the reason why? What happened between them that made them so mean to him? They were kind of like bullying him at first.
I think because he never let an issue go by without arguing. If you confronted Josh, he was going to argue with you. It wasn't going to be like, listen, man, I'm tired. I want to just go in and lay down and chill.
Mm-hmm.
Josh would, and then he started with those pots and pans. Let me tell you, man.
Jesus.
Don't give me
even if he's not coming at you with those pots and pans,
it's annoying.
It's continuous. You're like, God, jeez. I'd be like,
I remember Josh like just annoying the fuck out of Cody and Jessica, and I didn't know why. I'm thinking, why did they hate him so much? There must have been something that he said or did that pissed them off. What?
They're friends now.
Are they friends now? Okay, that's good. Because on the show they were like, but I remember every time you come near them, they would go, get away from us. We don't like you. Get away. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Why would they?
With us.
It was a show.
Yeah.
What?
You can't sit with us.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, my roommate's a voice actor, so he'd probably get on by just doing voices, different people's voices.
That's all you do, man. You tell him that your birthday lives in infamy, and you talk about it, and you can sound like Winston Churchill. That's all. And you'll get right on.
God.
They'll be like, God, Winston Churchill's here.
Yeah.
I don't do Winston Churchill. I do other people,
In the darkest hour.
In the darkest hour.
Lorin, thank you so much, man, for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
I know. I've been having so much fun with you.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that you're okay. And I was wondering about your cancer. But yeah, we should talk again. Maybe you could come on again, like near the end. Near the end of the season.
Maybe three-some or foursome with Howie and another.
Yes, we could try to get Howie back on.
Definitely.
We'll have a Big Brother party.
And listen, I wish you luck trying out next year. And
yes.
I wish you guys the best. And Lorin, whatever you want, just text me or tweet me and let me know.
Hey, Lord, he'd be a good cameo on your the movie you're writing.
I know. I'm working on this movie, and it's my God.
What's it about?
It's going to be on Netflix. It's great. It's a Back to the Future type of thing. That's why I was laughing when you said Back to the Future.
Back to the Future 25 times. Are you kidding me?
I love movies like that, and so I've been working on one about going back. These two women that go back in time. Well, the script is outlined. I kind of know what's happening, and but yeah, the producer and the person that's the other writer, basically, he just got through filming another Netflix show about Christmas. So he's just free now. So he's going to come in. He's going to help me with the script. I've already written quite a bit of it, and we're going to do this. And then he's going to be the one to direct it, and produce it, and all of that. So I'm super excited. I'm going to interview him too. So you should watch that interview on here. I think it's like next week.
Okay.
And he's going to talk about all of his movies. He has like 5 or 6 movies on Netflix. It's amazing.
A director out there in California, Philip Noyce. You know Mr. Noyce? He did Braveheart. Philip Noyce is an Australian guy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
he came up to Boston, and my daughter was doing a TV commercial, and so he's standing on the side and he's talking to me, and he's telling me he's going to do a movie about the Code of Silence. It's a section of Boston called Charlestown, where they were bank robbers and they were armored car robbers. So he goes back to LA, and I was trying to tell him before, he was doing a show up here called The Brotherhood out of Providence.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So
yeah, that show Brotherhood. That was a good show.
So I got booked on the show, and I'm talking to Mr. Noyce, and he's saying Charleston. And I said, listen, man. And I sat like in a chair next to him, and people were like, do you know him? I said, no, why? Who is he? And I was like, listen, if you're going to make a movie about Charlestown, you have to call it Charlestown.
Right.
You can't say
and put me in it. Put me in it.
You have to have the proper, the leprechaun signs on the back of the neck, the shamrock.
Yeah.
There's stuff up here in certain prisons, you cannot have them if you don't know what you. So I get a call, and they send me down to not Virginia Beach. What's it called? Newport Beach, Virginia. Newport Beach, whatever. I was there for a month. I had the lead role, and it's a movie called Code of Silence. I play the head FBI guy.
Oh my God! Send me a link on Twitter. I can't wait. I love that show.
So listen, my father is in the joint. My father gets sent to prison. So I go up to visit, and the guys in Charlestown are like, "Hey, Andy, your son's a FBI agent?" I was like, "What?" I said, "I was in a movie, man. It was a film in a movie." And my father was laughing. I was like, "Dad, they think I'm an FBI agent. I was actually filming a movie." And then you got to check out Geraldo. I won Geraldo's Man of the Year in '95.
Wow. Send me the link. Send me the link. I can't wait.
It's on that movie's on the Discovery Channel. It's called The Code of Silence. It's about Chuck Norris from '85. It's about the Charlestown bank robbers. Really, really bad dudes. And the Geraldo I was the hunk of the year in '95.
Wow. I can't wait to see that.
They gave it to me because I had 5 daughters. They felt bad. Because the ladies,
I knew that you were a model in the past. You look like a model.
Wow, that's quite a cast too.
Yeah.
Check it out. And
Lauren,
contact me. I'll definitely come out and help you out with the movie, whatever you need.
Oh, absolutely. You would love this guy. You guys would get along great. He likes he casts people from reality shows. So that's what's great about him is that
a good word. Let me know.
There's at least 3 people I've seen that's been in a reality show that's been in his movies. So I'm like, okay, obviously there's something going on here. I was like, that's good.
The Boston guy, then Lorin, okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring you out.
I've already come up with a catchphrase for when people get evicted. Oh, Lorin.
What is it?
Get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. They're gonna bleep him though. Like every time someone's evicted, he wants to say, "Get the fuck out." But then I'm like, but they're just gonna bleep you. But it's still funny, you know.
That's okay.
Listen, it's been a real pleasure. Have a good night. Go watch the show.
On now. And tell your daughter thank you for setting this up for us. And
yes,
I'm
thank
so
you.
excited. All right.
Stay in touch. Just tweet.
Bye, Kevin.
All right. See you later, guys.
Bye, sweetie.
Okay. Bye-bye.